Hey, how are you doing, girl? So, the day today is October 25th, 2018. It is a Thursday, and I've got my glasses on today. The reason is because I'll be overseeing some I don't know, operations today at my workplace, and so I don't wear contact lenses when I'm at work doing that because at any point in time there could be a chemical release. Right, it's the same protocol that you use in any laboratory situation. Like if you're in a lab, you wouldn't necessarily have contacts on your eyeballs because if there are any corrosive materials like acids or bases released into the air, they can sort of be wafted onto the surface of your eyes, and the corrosive effects will take effect. and and you want to be able to rinse your eyes quickly in an eye wash without contact lenses being a problem. You know, a contact lens can can keep hazardous chemicals on your eyeball, and also make it hard to flush the eyeball when you might have a chemical in it. So anyway, for those reasons, for those very good reasons, I do not wear contacts. I wear eyeglasses, and so I'm wearing eyeglasses today. So if you see anything odd, see any odd reflections in them, you'll know. You'll get a sense of the lighting that I use here when I make my videos, and that's the thing about glasses. I don't know how people who work in movie and television how they're able to keep the reflections of the external lighting off of their eyeglasses. I've even got these special anti-reflective coatings on my lenses, and I can see that they are only having some partial impact on whether you see reflections or not. Anyway, beyond that, beyond the obvious, I hope you're doing well today. Thank you for clicking the link and spending some time with me. I'm always interested in taking some time out of my day and sort of spending some one-on-one time with you, face-to-face time with you like we're doing now. And always interested in sort of enriching that intimate connection that we have. And for me, at least, this is part of how I do it. This is part of how I just build on the relationship that we have. You know, I try to take actions to make our interaction a little more cohesive and close. And this is part of how I do it. You know, it's important for people to get together and just spend time in one another's presence. And this is how I call forth that presence with you. And at least it's one of the ways I do that. So, let's see. So, I tell you, my life has been really interesting lately. And not just interesting, it's just been unfolding in a way where I've got a lot, I'm really developing now personally. I'm just really coming into my own in terms of my personal power, in terms of my life coming together. It's really beginning to gel, and I'm really feeling a really strong sense of accomplishment and enjoyment in everything that I do. And these are heady times for me. I'm engaged in a lot of activities that I enjoy doing, and I'm making progress in some areas of my life on a daily basis. And it feels really good. It feels really good to finally get some traction in a lot of areas in my life. And what's great too is there's a really strong sense of calmness and a strong sense of peace for me. I'm not as agitated. I know that I'm on track and that I'm taking action that's valuable to me. I'm taking action consistent with my values, and I'm getting results that that I want to see in the world around me. And it's really pleasing to me for me to see this progress, to sort of see this stability in my life that's developing, and how it's as if every action is an investment. You know, I'm and I'm getting a return on my investments. But let me also mention that these investments are modest. I mean, these returns on investments are modest, but they are significant. And I don't know. For example, I tend to be working out right now, quite often, weightlifting, and I really appreciate doing that. It's giving me more energy. It's helping my mind think in a more clear way. I'm also developing communication skills, which I'm really appreciating and enjoying. And that by itself, little by little, is helping me make progress in developing my social circles and also helping me make progress at work. Of course, it's also helping me make progress in my relationship with you. And then, as I continue to take these actions, in a patient way, I'm making small progress in terms of my relationship with you. And that is exciting and empowering to me. And it's giving me a little bit more hope about the future. And so things are working out pretty well. My home life is really calm. And I'm really figuring out what I want in terms of my social relationships. And I'm, getting together with people who are interesting to me and exciting to me. And things are going pretty well. I'm also, in terms of my physical capabilities, I'm doing things I've never done before. And I'm really liking what I'm seeing. So my life is very enjoyable right now. And, I'm happy. I'm happy. You know, I think sometimes that people, they have a tendency to forget what it is that makes their lives so meaningful. And we also take things for granted. And it's kind of interesting how slippery this all is. It's so easy for human beings to fall into pits of hopelessness and despair about things that are fantasy, about imaginings, about things that are just not well known. That's human beings really fall quite often into this way of thinking thoughtlessly, and it hurts them. It harms them. It brings a lot of emotional pain, this sloppy thinking. And, for that reason, a lot of people struggle. Life gives people the impression of being really tough, really hard. And a lot of it's the result of people's feelings, and people's sort of inarticulate ways of thinking and speaking, and that make that happen. And so it's almost a tragedy. It's really, really easy for human beings to fall into low moods where they're blue for a long period of time for reasons that don't make any sense. For reasons that are unverified and just not well thought through. And that's really the tragedy of the human mind, and that it so easily falls astray. But you know what? Everybody's in the same boat. And with some thoughtfulness, responsible thinking, and and rigorous clarity about what is and what is not, what is real and what is fantasy, people can make progress, and people can live happy lives. But it does take some effort. Now, recently I've been talking to you about some investigations I've been making into what I call fit training. Fit training has to do with, it's called functional imagery training. And this is really a really common technique in sports psychology, where people do internal rehearsal by visualizing in their mind's eye activities that they want to perform. And, some studies have found that people can receive a lot of benefit from these internal rehearsals through using their imagination and imagery. And I've been making a lot of progress in terms of my own levels of self-discipline, my ability to sit down and study and read, and maybe even write out to-do lists and put together schedules for my daily schedule for life. My self-discipline has been rising little by little the more I've been using this fit training technique, where I literally just imagine myself doing the work that I want to be doing. I find that it's motivating, and that it takes the mystery out of getting from task A to task B. And so I'm really pleased by the progress I'm making right now. And I'm interested to learn more and become more adept at using imagery to make progress. One thing that I've also discovered lately related to productivity is that all that I have to do to make progress in a certain area quite often is sit down and put a pen to paper and start thinking about what I want to do next. That kind of thinking, especially if I've got a calendar or some kind of schedule nearby that I'm looking at and sort of forecasting what the future might look like, that creates a lot of integrations. That's what I call them. I call them integrations that help me plan what my future is going to look like. And it's really fascinating how just sitting down, pen to paper, essentially forces integrations to happen in my mind. I ask myself, what am I doing at 6 p.m.? What am I doing at 7 p.m.? What am I doing at 8 p.m.? And really just asking those questions in a thoughtful way helps my mind piece together a lot of disparate ideas, rememberings, goals, interests, desires, and I can put them on paper and they become solid plans. And I find this really fascinating. I call it integrating, and sort of making these integrations happen is a big part of planning, and it helps me get things done what I want to get done. I don't know how else to say it. And so anyway, I'm hoping that I can do that 2-3 times a day, and by just doing that alone, make progress. Another thing that I've been doing lately, and it's related, is doing something called Mindsweeps. Now, if you've ever heard of David Allen and his Getting Things Done methodology, remember I sent you a book, Getting Things Done by David Allen, a couple of months ago, at the beginning of school this semester. And I think that in that book they talk about Mindsweeps. Now, Mindsweeps are a technique for enhancing productivity. It's all about taking all the material, all the ideas that happen to be in the front of your mind, in your consciousness at the moment, putting them down on paper. And a mind sweep means just sort of taking all that content, all that material in your mind in the moment, and putting it on paper. That is powerful. It's sort of like it's a clean sweep of sort of what's on your mind. When you put it on paper, this material, you're able to quite often turn them into to-do lists or scheduled appointments or values or goals pretty readily when you do it. And so this whole combination of forcing integrations by sitting down with pen to paper, with a calendar, and doing mind sweeps, that's a really powerful combination. And I'm really reaping the benefits from this practice. I'm doing that, 2 or 3 times a day. I should probably do it more often, but I'm making good progress with those productivity techniques. And I just wanted to pass that information along to you. It's kind of funny. I know it's sort of probably hard to understand as I'm just relating this information to you verbally. I might have to demonstrate it to you one of these days. But anyway, let's start our little video blog the way I usually start our video blogs, and that is by reading a passage out of Mary Mackenzie's Peaceful Living book. So here we go. So today is the 25th of October. It's Thursday, and let's see what the quotation for the day is. The quotation for the day is, running around the boat does nothing to ensure progress through the water. Anonymous. So I'm not quite sure what that quote means, so let's read the subtitle, which is Making a Direct Request. And the passage reads, often it is not what we ask, it is how we ask that makes a difference. Recently, I witnessed a couple in conversation. The husband had bought his wife a water purifier. She didn't want it. He felt angry and said, well, I guess I should know by now that you won't like anything I buy for you. I don't know why I don't give up. She said, what do I need a water purifier for? I've been drinking our tap water for 30 years. I felt very sad when I heard this conversation because I realized that the husband had purchased his wife a gift that he wanted. When she didn't like it, he felt angry, hurt, and hopeless. In the end, his need for clean water was not met, and there was additional tension in their relationship. I honestly believe that if he had simply asked her for what he wanted, or if he had simply asked for what he wanted, he might have gotten it. Honey, I am starting to worry about the chemicals in our water. Would you be willing to use a water purifier for the water we drink? It's direct and honest. Anytime we try to get people to do what we want without being honest about our intentions, we are drawn into a manipulative scenario that often backfires. When this happens, it is hard for anyone to feel satisfied. When we are direct and honest about what we need, our ability to meet our needs increases. Wow. This is a really powerful passage, and I'm impressed about it. This is really something I need to work on. So the thought for the day is, notice when you attempt to meet your needs by manipulating another person today. Then stop yourself and make a direct request. It's kind of interesting. I think a lot of people have this problem. It's really sort of the beginning of what I'd call passive-aggressive type behavior, and that is the inability to make a direct request. Making a direct request, particularly one that is sort of close to one's heart, is hard to do because of the possibility that other person might say no or have other ideas about what they want. And, You know, as I've gotten older, I've gotten better with making direct requests, but I think everyone can use extra practice. Yeah, making direct requests is a challenge. It takes courage. It takes bravery. It takes also a real strong sense of assertiveness, I think, to make direct requests. Quite often people have vague feelings or vague notions about what they want. They're just not clear. And even formulating a direct request, like figuring out what a direct request would sound like or look like, is hard to do. Quite often people make requests that are vague, that are unclear, that are not positive. Maybe they're asking for stuff that they don't want instead of stuff that they do want. It takes time to even develop a direct request. Something that's actionable, something that's doable, something that's positive. It takes a thoughtfulness to generate a direct request. And it's not easy. Like I mentioned, what's happening in our minds is just like this. Quite often it's sort of, these are vague notions and feelings and desires that arise. And quite often we don't know, it's not clear what our needs are in the moment. Often we don't know what we want. There's a lot of uncertainty related to what we want. I know I'm uncertain about what I want. I'm not sure what to do all the time. And I'm not sure what needs to happen in order for me to feel better quite often, or happier. I am uncertain. And, what's also true is that I don't know how another person will react to my request. Even if I figure out what I want and need, and I'm able to assemble a request that is actionable, and even if I have the courage to say it to someone else, the question is, how will they respond? There's a lot of uncertainty about what goes on in other people's minds. And what's odd and interesting is that what might be close to our heart, say a need for us, may not even faze the other person. It may not even be on the horizon of the other person's mind. And so there's this possibility of like a serious disconnect between you and another person with every request. So it's risk taking, because quite often you're exposing yourself. You're exposing some vulnerable part of yourself. For a person to make a request, there's got to be this willingness to be vulnerable and expose something that's important and valuable to me, and expose that to another person. Making a request is something that's very intimate. And it's hard. It's hard to achieve these intimacies. Other people also can be very flippant. They can be uncaring at times. They can make statements that are really cold, right? And they can make statements that are halting. People can overreact to intimate questions and maybe not receive that question with acceptance and understanding. And so, it's really tough. I have a really lot of compassion with people who are willing to make direct requests to others, because they put themselves in a position where something that they could lose something that they want, right? Really, that's where it is. It's a point where they lose something that they want. And so it's a risk. So I really, I mean, it's clear to me how much easier life would be if people would just use direct requests to ask for what they want all the time. And of course, 90% of requests are not direct. They're actually quite indirect. They are requests that occur as a result of, say, an expression of a nonverbal behavior. They're requests that, boy, they take lots of different forms and shapes. Sometimes a request is just a hint in a certain direction. It's a word. It's maybe a request might be as subtle as a glance, or even a pause. There can be in a conversation, I can imagine someone just pausing at a certain moment before or after a key word that sort of brings attention to that part of the sentence. And that in itself might be a subtle and hidden request. So, it's really not altogether easy to sort of figure out when someone is requesting something and when they're not. And it's kind of, human communication is just so uncertain a lot of the time. And so, this is part of why I'm interested in developing my communication. And I would tell you what, I would love to be more vulnerable, more willing to risk loss by making direct requests. I think everybody struggles with it because it's so close to our hearts. What we're asking for is something we really want, something we might even need. And it's just hard to be that vulnerable, to expose ourselves that way, especially if we have a habit of not asking those questions, which most of us and many of us do. Well, anyway, speaking of questions, I think it's probably time to get on to the next part of our presentation today, and that is the questions out of the Kindle book. So let's see what the Kindle book has to say about what questions the Kindle book. Now I'm doing this just as a reminder, just so that we can know each other a little bit better. I'd like you to know who I am, and I'd like you to know my background and some ideas about my experiences, so that you know who you're dealing with, so you know who I am. You get to know who your dad is. So here we go. Question number 91. Have you ever broken the law? No, not that I know of. Question number 92. Have you been jailed? And no, I've never been in jail. I'm happy to say that. Question number 93. What is your opinion about cops? Well, I'll tell you directly that I am cautious around them. They have a lot of power in our society, and I make sure to respond to them in a very disciplined, methodical way, in an upfront way, in a way that is non-threatening. So, and quite often when they make a request, I will repeat the request to them so that I can ensure that communication is clear. So yeah, I'm cautious, and because I am aware of the risk involved when you're in proximity to them. They have so much power that they can really alter your life. With a word or a sudden jerky movement or something like that, that can be a big problem. So anyway, I'm very cautious about them. Question 94. Have you met any celebrities? And yeah, I've been around them incidentally. Have I met them? Well, I really don't have a lot of experience meeting celebrities. Like I see them in passing sometimes at Disneyland or when I visit Los. Occasionally I see celebrities at a distance, say at a restaurant. I remember I was in Phoenix, Arizona one time, and the Phoenix Suns walked in. They are a basketball team, and right there was there's a famous Phoenix Suns basketball player, Barkley. Barkley was right there at the table next to ours, and that was kind of neat. But I never did meet him. So no, I don't. I have not really met any celebrities. Question number 95: who would you like to meet, or what celebrity would I like to meet? Oh man, I guess there are a lot of celebrities I like to meet. Um, you know, meeting celebrities, I'm not sure that that's really high on my list of. But what I would like is I would like them to transmit to me their skills and talents. And their knowledge about the world. That's what I would like. That's what I seek out. Is I want their virtues. I want to enjoy their virtues and exercise their virtues like they do. That is interesting to me. Just meeting them, I don't know. Like right now, I'm reading J.K. Rowling's book, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, and would I like to meet J.K. Rowling? Sure, why not? Would it be a very interesting conversation? Probably not. I'm not. I mean, she has an amazing ability to write that I admire. And I would like to have that same skill, the ability to write in a very clear and entertaining way. That's what I want. I want the skill. And I'd like to develop it. But as for meeting J.K. Rowling, I don't know if I really need to. There's some, like, who is that actor who plays, he's a singer and an actor, and he plays Wolverine in the Marvel movies. I forget his name. I'd like to meet him. He seems like an interesting character, an interesting person. And, that just goes to show that I'm not that enthusiastic about him when I can't even remember his name. There's some people who I admire. Like, I admire Sylvester Stallone a lot, but I'm not really sure that I'd want to meet him. I've watched some televised interviews of him being interviewed, and that's good enough. That's fine. Now, what I really want to know about Sylvester Stallone is, how he does what he does. I mean, how does he? What does he eat, and how much does he exercise, and what kind of exercise does he do, and wonder if he has any advice for being more successful in life. I'm sort of more interested in that kind of thing. The acquisition of skills and talents, and that is similar to that person's skills and talents. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know if there's really anyone in particular that I'd like to meet. Okay, question 96. Have you ever been a hero? Boy, that's a good question. Well, there's nothing that really pops into my mind about when I've been a hero. I think I've been a hero to myself quite often by practicing self-care at certain times. I'm a hero, I think, in the sense about how much difficulty I've endured. But I think a lot of people can say that. Now, the question also, for me, relates to whether I've helped someone else in a way that was really significant. I think I'm a hero in small ways related to, say, helping my family out with some money at a time when they maybe their car broke down or they have a bill to pay. In that sense, I think I can be a hero. But that might be the only ways that I've been a hero in the past, and that is by helping out members of my family. Other than that, I can't think of anything else. All right, next question. Question number 97. Have you ever gotten in trouble over a practical joke? All right, so one thing that I'm really cautious about is practical jokes. Because they have there's a tendency for them to backfire in ways that are not well understood, that are ways that are surprises. And so honestly, I don't like to engage in horseplay or engage in practical jokes because I don't think they are as appreciated by the people who are joked upon. And so no, I've never gotten into trouble. And that's because I'm really cautious over it. I don't care to get into trouble about, having a laugh, just to have a laugh, right? So it's not a practice I engage in. Question number 98. What is your greatest life goal? Well, that's a really good question. I think my greatest life goal is an internal one. It's an inner one. It's about developing rock solid internal peace. That's my I think my most challenging personal goal. And I might even add happiness. So peace and happiness, if I can get those nailed down somehow. And I also have a real desire to be more diligent and disciplined and active and effective in the world. So that to me is also a really high sort of pinnacle goal for me to reach. And I try to reach that goal in a lot of ways. By doing well at work, at my workplace, by doing well in school. For me, learning new things is about being more effective in the world. And that's something I try to do. So I guess I've got two goals. For me, everything is about, there's always this duality, right? So I've got two main goals. And I think the most important ones are peace and happiness, internal peace and happiness. And the other one relates to being effective in the world. If I can sort of balance these two and make them happen, in greater measure, day by day, hour by hour, minute by minute, then I will have achieved my highest goal. I also have some other related thing that's important, and it has to do with connection. I have a really strong ability to reach out and connect with other people through active listening and other techniques that I use. Right there, my interest, I have a strong interest in connecting with other people. Where that interest comes from, I don't know. I'm not sure where it comes from. Actually, recently, that interest in connection has been waning a little bit lately. In the last month or two, I've been stepping back from my tendency to want to connect with people. And, it might have to do with a lot of the change that's going on in my life right now. How I'm sort of being changed by my environment as I'm developing. I'm not sure what's causing this pullback that I've got right now, that I've got for the last month or so, but I still have a really strong desire to connect with others. So let's go with the next question. Question 99. What is your greatest achievement so far? Well, I'll tell you right now, my greatest achievement so far is just staying alive. That is quite an achievement. I'm age 47 now. And, it takes some doing to stay alive for that long, almost 50 years. And the game really hasn't even started. I have a feeling that staying alive for another 50 years, the next 50 years is going to be even more challenging. I know. I know. But I have more tools in my toolbox now to help assist me in staying alive than ever before. And so I'm glad about that. And despite that, I know that it's still going to be a challenge. So, do I have any other response to this question? What is my greatest achievement so far? Well, having you as my daughter, Emily, that is a great achievement that I am proud of myself about. I'm glad that you appear to be happy and healthy, and that's important to me. So yeah, having you is really big achievement in my life, and it's an achievement because it provides to me a lot of meaning, and I'm glad for that. So just like a professional career, being a father also provides a lot of meaning to me, and being a lifelong learner also. Those three aspects of my life provide a lot of meaning, and I would guess that those are my two main achievements: giving you life and keeping myself alive. All right, what's next? Question number 100. All right, so we've got to question 100. We are 1/5 of the way through this book, 20% of the way through this book. So question number 100, do you believe anything is possible? And my answer to that question is no. I don't believe anything is possible, that's for sure. I am largely a determinist, which means that I believe that our external reality, that nature functions like in a clockwork manner, where molecules and atoms interact with one another according to physical laws, and the laws of chemistry, and the laws of physics, and the laws of biology, and that there isn't any possibility beyond that. And so, no, I don't think that anything is possible, because the laws of physics are so immutable. Now, there's a lot of change that happens, and but I don't think that anything is possible. Next question. Question 101. Have you ever made and flown kites? And yeah, I have. In fact, I've made and flown kites with you. I think there was one time when we made a kite out of newspaper and some balsa wood. And we did so at our dining room table in the 289A Burton Mesa house. Yeah, that was here in Lompoc. And I remember also flying kites with you. I think I remember we went to the kite festival. We went to a kite festival in Santa Barbara, at Santa Barbara City College. I don't know if you remember that, but we went to that beautiful campus and flew kites out there over as we overlooked the ocean. So yeah, I've made kites and I've flown kites. And I would like to do that again. Absolutely. That's always something I'd be open to trying. Okay, so question number 102. Black socks or white socks? So my answer to that question is black socks. Oh yeah, black socks all the way. White socks, I own white socks. and I just don't wear them. I just don't find them fashionable. They seem to clash so often with my other clothing. But black socks, let me tell you. Now, black socks in particular for sports or like weightlifting or anything like that, when I go to the gym, I like to have the low top black socks. Those seem to work really well for me in terms of being fashionable. Next question. Question 103. Where would you choose to live aside from your current town? Well, this is an interesting question. Well, gosh, there are so many interesting places to live. Now, realistically, I think what I'd like to do is perhaps move a little bit more further south. I would definitely like to live in San Diego. I think that would be a fun place. You know, you've got SeaWorld and San Diego Zoo, and you've got a warmer ocean. And there's also, I like the sort of the bigger city part of maybe living in San Diego. And there's a lot of good federal jobs out down there. So I would definitely like to live in San Diego. That would be kind of a neat place for me to live. I'd totally be up for that. But I'd also want to be close to you. So maybe you'd be willing to go to college at the UC San Diego, University of California at San Diego. That'd be cool. Or, yeah. Now, here's the thing. I wouldn't necessarily want to live in Los Angeles. I actually kind of like living in small towns. I would be willing to go live in Albuquerque, New Mexico again. I don't think I'd be willing to live in Taos or Santa Fe, New Mexico. That's where other parts of my family are. Other places that I'd like to live, anywhere in a good number of places in California would be fine, and I'm thinking also Florida. Florida sounds interesting to me. Now, I am a little taken aback by some of the events lately relating to hurricane intensity during hurricane season and how Florida might get impacted. Really for that reason alone, I might steer clear from Florida. But I tell you what, if Florida did not have problems with hurricanes, I might be willing to, I think maybe I could live inland. That might be sort of create a buffer between me and hurricane force winds. But what I really like about Florida is, first of all, it seems to have a lot of interesting people, and I particularly like the idea of having warm weather and humid weather. That's fine by me. I also like the idea of having a warm ocean to swim in. That's powerful. I also think that, there are fewer waves. The wave action in Florida is not as great. There's not a lot of wave energy down there. At least that's been my impression of the ocean waters in Florida. And I'm actually really okay with that. Because here on the west coast of the United States in California, the wave action is really powerful. It's not too bad in some areas, but one thing I don't care for about the ocean is the powerful waves, because there's a potential for injury. And a rogue wave coming in at some odd direction at some height with some amount of energy could knock you off your feet and give you a face plant or something like that. And so that's one part of the ocean that I struggle with sometimes, is just dealing with the waves. But anyway, when it comes to places to live, I think California and Florida, that would be cool. Wouldn't it be interesting to live in Orlando and just have lots of quick access to all the Disney World theme parks. That sounds interesting to me. That might be kind of fun, at least for a while. So I guess that pretty much sums up places I'd like to live. Florida, California, and maybe New Mexico. I could possibly live in Arizona. I don't think I'd want to live in Texas or in any of the southern states. Just have no desire. And in the Northeast, I don't know. I guess I could possibly live for a short time in, say, Washington, D.C. or New York, one of the larger cities. But I don't think I'd want to live there for any long duration. It might be interesting to live for a time in a place like Maine or Vermont, where it gets really cold and they have 4 seasons. I think that might be a fun experience for maybe 1 or 2 seasons. But I have a feeling also that it would get really old really fast. And I would have to definitely be prepared with a whole set of winter clothing and a vehicle that has the ability to plow through snow. But that could be fun, I think, at least for a time. I lived in Seattle, Washington, and I'm open to living there again, though I would want a much higher paying job. Those places in the Northeast and Northwest, they can get a little pricey sometimes. Especially with all the people and the traffic in the cities and such. Another place that I'd love to live is Hawaii. I'd totally be open to living in Hawaii. Emily, if you like to go to college at the University of Hawaii, hang 10, girl. I'm there. I would be out there so quick. I would find a job out there in Hawaii and we can live it up. That would be a lot of fun. I'd be totally into that. So I think those are the 3 main places: Hawaii, California, and Florida. All right. Oh, now, how about anywhere in the world? That's actually also an interesting question. For a time, I'd live anywhere in the world, pretty much. Do I have a really strong interest in living somewhere else in the world? If only to learn a language. Maybe if I wanted to learn French or German or Spanish, I'd be, or even Italian, I'd certainly be willing to live in one of those countries for a little while. I could actually do that. I might very well be able to do that. I might want to put that on my bucket list. Just long enough to learn a new language. That might be worthwhile, might it? Okay, next question. Question number 104. Do you prefer summer or winter season? Well, that's an easy no-brainer. I definitely prefer summer. I love sunshine. I love tropical environments. I love Mediterranean environments. I love the summertime. And so that's pretty exciting to me. Yeah, much better than winter. Now, I can handle winter here where I live, mainly because there's no snow. And, there's also very little rain. It's mostly perfect weather all the time in the place where I live now, and that's perfectly okay. For me, California winters are basically like summers too. So for me, all year round is summer. And that's great. So yeah. Question number 105. Did you ever dream of being famous? Well, yeah, I think everybody dreams of being famous. And, I have a sense that being famous would be pretty darn fun. I would like to enjoy the goodwill of many, many people, of many, many strangers. I mean, I can't see how that would be a big problem. Now, I know that some people might have problems with photographers and people who want their signature, stuff like that. I'm not sure that I'd really have a big problem with that. I guess it would depend on how intrusive it was in my life. I guess it might get real old after a while. I don't know. It would depend, I guess, on what kind of fame. There are different kinds of fame. Like I could become like a Nobel Prize winning scientist. Now that's being famous. And that would be a great kind of famous to be. I would love to be invited to speak at conferences, things like that, and enjoy the admiration of others. Okay, question number 106. Do you consider yourself spoiled or conservative? What kind of question is that? Do you consider yourself spoiled or conservative? Okay, well, I'm going to take that question on its face value. Spoiled or conservative? Okay, I'm trying to think about what measuring scale are we using here, where spoiled is on one end and conservative is on the other end. I don't think that question makes any sense. So I'm going to move on to the next question. Question number 107. What is your most treasured home appliance? Well, right now it's my rice cooker. I am enamored with my rice cooker. I can make lentils in my rice cooker. I can make rice in my rice cooker. My rice cooker is the bomb. Oh, and I also have experimented with making spaghetti in my rice cooker. Now, I haven't really started making spaghetti on a regular basis in my rice cooker, but yeah, my rice cooker is my favorite. What it used to be was my electric pressure cooker, and then for a time it was my blender. But my electric pressure cooker and blender have gone out of fashion lately, and I'm not sure why. I think I'm eating fewer beans. That's basically the only reason I'd use my electric pressure cooker. And my blender, I would pretty much only use it to make smoothies. And so I actually had a bean phase and a smoothie phase while in the kitchen. Also, another home appliance that I really like is my toaster. And that always seems to be up there. So I guess my two favorite appliances right now are my rice cooker and my toaster. They're just so useful. Well, anyway, Emily, I'm going to wrap things up here, and I just want to thank you for spending some time with me and relating with me with this experience over the last hour. Thank you for having the patience to listen to what I have to say. I want you to know that I am for you. I am for you. I'm an advocate of your interests, and I am interested in supporting you and helping you develop as a young woman. And I want to see you achieve your dreams and achieve your goals. And I want to assist you to do those things, whether it's assistance through my time or my energy or my money. I just want you to know that I'm willing to sort of support you in any area that you need support in, or that you want support in, that you might even suggest in thinking that you need support in. I'm willing to be there. I'm really flexible in my time and energy, and I would like to support you more. I'd like to get the feeling of supporting you more than I do. And with a little bit more communication, I think we can make that happen. And I want to help you be more successful in your life. I want to help you derive more meaning and enjoyment, peace, playfulness, and fun in your life, and more happiness. And so if there's any way that that I can be a partner with you in helping you to develop these kind of skills and gifts and tools, reach out to me and we'll make